Whiskey Maine is whiskey one. Shit's hit the fan, we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging neck, bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them all to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of room. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just got tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. The shadow of death. Whiskey man is whiskey one. We're all secured and they're on the run. Tell them boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. The next time I see them, I'll buy the rounds. Tell the devil of Ramadi we gon' call them real soon. Next time they wanna party, bring whiskey too. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of war. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death. Your door. You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death. And welcome to episode 31, season 3 of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks at home, folks watching this recorded, thank you so very much for joining us. We sincerely appreciate all the love and support. We've got an awesome episode for you here. Got a little bit of laundry list to get done here real quick. Before we get going any further, this episode is sponsored by All Terrain Tackle and Blackfish. All Terrain Bass Jigs Extraordinaire. You got to look at the swim jig and the finesse jig if you're looking for the juice. And blackfish, now more than ever in the springtime. The stories are coming in. I just was fishing in upper 30 degree with rain myself down in Texas. And I'm telling you, I'm spoiled, y'all. Blackfish gear keeps you dry, keeps you warm. I think the only thing that got cold on me for a very brief little minute was my toes. Then those snap right back around as soon as I kept moving my feet around a little bit. But man, if you're looking for protection, you want to stay dry, you want to stay warm, especially in the spring and fall, check out that Storm Skin, y'all. I'm telling you right now, it is no joke and it takes care of you. All right. So, real quick on the laundry, if you guys have been following any of our channels right now, you have been seeing Mr. Brian Romans, our founder. They're on the road. They're probably by now they're in North Carolina. The Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance is getting deployed there for an awesome special event down there, and the fundraising has begun. In order to get this year taken care of, we are looking on the serious level corporate fundraising, corporate sponsorship. There is phenomenal exposure involved in this. If folks at home, if you know anybody out there, if you work for an organization that gets behind these type of larger type events, that trailer is a must. With one trailer, we can solve so many issues there. We can cut cost of fuel. We can so many things to keep that wall and keep that mobile memorial moving around the country here. So check out the pages. You'll get all that information out there. Romans Warrior Foundation, GWAT, Wall of Remembrance. Last bit of stuff before we bring in our special guests. They're in the green room right now. I can see them, and they're patiently waiting for us here. Just wanted to put a little bit of light to a couple things that popped up here. I'll give you the short version of this. Our schedule, because of the first two events, our schedule got kind of adjusted on us. There's an old saying, you can't win the tournament on day one, but you sure can lose it. Well, in this sport, the same can be said for a person's AOI run. And the dumpster fire, which was my Guntersville event, pretty well sealed the deal for me on my BASSMASTER National Kayak Series attempts at running for AOI, and quite honestly, even a top 50 in points. That finish was just horrendous, and it basically threw things into perspective for us. Every one of the bass events, unfortunately, for the most part, is way out east. It takes like a full day to travel there, so we had to watch that real close. So subsequently, we have removed ourselves from the Hartwell event. We're no longer gonna be going to that one. On top of that, we had a regional event that we pulled back from, and then the stars aligned for us. And things took place that made this possible, so we actually are going to fish the Conway event for the All-American Kayak Series. We're not going to have our normal time that we normally would take to get there, but it's enough time that we feel we can be competitive, so we're going to go ahead and jump in that one since we're going to be in that neck of the woods. So other than that, everything else will remain on track, and so on and so forth. So busy time all the way around here. Listen, speaking of busy, our next guest here, they need no introduction in the Colorado area for sure. And as time goes on, and as this little podcast continues to pick up steam, they'll need very little introduction in the entire Midwest and maybe further and beyond that. Two people that we absolutely love here at the True Patriot Outfitters. And as a fellow Colorado kayak angler, I am very proud to call this next angler and her husband coming in the champ for the state of Colorado. Please welcome to the stream. The champ is here, Miss Leslie Allee and her husband Eric. Hey guys, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. This doesn't feel like spring.
No, not at all.
At all?
Yeah.
No? Pardon me, I get things squared away. There we go. Now we look pretty, all framed out with Merca. All right. Well, listen, guys. What's that?
Eric put that on there for my name, apparently.
The champ is here. That's all right.
Facts.
I can throw banners and stuff up if we want to, don't worry. We can do all kinds of stuff. Well, listen, guys, thank you so very much for joining us here. I know we tried to get something on the scene there, but dude, it's a whirlwind when you guys are out there. So no worries at all. We're awesomely proud and happy to have you guys here right now.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I got off the water and Eric says, Gene's gonna talk to us or whatever. And I was like, okay. And then he came back in, and apparently I was out for the night.
So normally when I go somewhere, Leslie wants to go.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look at tackle, so I was like, well, I'm gonna run to Bass Pro Shops real quick.
Yeah. No.
Didn't even acknowledge it.
No. I don't remember at all.
The first event, when I really started getting into tournament fishing myself way back in the day in the boats, I kept looking at myself going, my God, am I that out of shape that I go fishing all day and I come home and I can barely get home driving. I'm so exhausted. What is this? I was just fishing.
Yeah.
it is the combination of the weather and the mental exhaustion that takes place when you're in the competition that just and yeah, physically, I mean, hey, make no mistake. I mean, it's, 3,000 cast in a day will put the hurt on one's arm or elbow.
I think we had a cornucopia of learning about what not to do, including being prepared for the rain. Like when we're out here, we take all of our stuff, right? We take our ice gear, we take everything. We didn't think we would need the ice gear in Tennessee.
Right.
So my sweet lady, she bought rain gear.
Yeah, I had basic rain gear to go over my clothes. I had my striker gear. What else? Oh, I had a Hobie rain jacket.
More like a windbreaker.
Well,
not the best.
Right.
Thing.
Right.
My muck boots and all that stuff. So I was ready for rain, but when you, I wish I would have got a video of it or whatever, but it's hard to explain the rain that I was kind of enduring out there. It was like a shower, let's just say, for 8 hours.
Yep.
So that.
Well, and I was watching it in the truck, in the nice warm truck with the heater on, but I was paying attention to how cold it was. And I think the coldest that it got, and when she's talking rain, it was nonstop all day long.
Like a shower.
The high,
a deluge.
47 was the high. The low was 43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cold. It was just nonstop rain. So yeah, when I got back to the hotel, I was out.
I think what you guys got is exactly what we got hit with through Texas. It came through there. We had like
and hit us at the end there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got because we were just a day or two before you guys at Lake of the Pines there, and it was like 38, 39 in the morning. I'm like, I didn't think Texas got this cold, man. What the heck is this?
I had my sunscreen ready and everything. I was ready to finish.
That was our fault. You brought the weather to Texas and we brought it to Tennessee.
That's right, from Colorado. That's right. We just daisy chained it along the way there.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. It looks like it's not as going to be as cold, but it looks like there's some more storms coming the end of this week right down at Conway, Arkansas, where I'm heading. So it's like I can't get away from this. But it's spring, man. You got to plan for it. It's going to happen for sure. But that nonstop rain mixed with the cold, that adds an extra element to it that. Man, that's tough when you're trying to make decisions and have a clear mind out there, especially in something you guys can attest to this. It's one thing to do it from a boat, but dude, when you're in a kayak, there's something about that seated position that just, it feels like it pulls up on you. You're not moving around the boat to kind of, I don't know, maybe deflect
There's
some of it.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, you're just stuck right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. So talk to us, work us through the week, man. Those pictures you guys are putting, the content was phenomenal. The whole experience of going there. It's no secret. This has been on my bucket list to get a chance to get to the national championship myself. It's why I'm jumping all over the country trying to find ways to get there. So talk with us about the week. You got there in plenty of good time. Before
it's a good 20-hour drive for us. So. He's frozen.
Yep. Give me 1 second here if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I was like, he's really feeling what you're saying.
Wow. We just lost all video here.
Oh, we got you.
That's funny. I don't know if they could still hear us, but you can have all the best gear, and whenever you're live, it's not if, it's when.
Oh yeah,
super frustrating. It's hard what these guys do putting it together because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Gene on his side, like when that happens, it's super frustrating. Oh, our audio is still going.
We're still on.
Yeah. Okay, we got to fill the
we're waiting for Gene.
He's figuring out 20-hour drive, and we're going to give you a little behind the scenes. Before we left, my pickup had a
oh, look, it's just us.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
My pickup had a hesitation, so we're getting ready to drive 18 hours, 19 hours. We can still see the champ. There you go. So we drove 20 hours basically.
Yeah.
And my pickup had a hesitation, so that was on our brain because you could feel it, I could feel it.
There's Gene. Hey,
you guys are absolutely the best. You kept the podcast going the whole time.
Gene's back.
That's freaking phenomenal. Oh,
There's
hang
Gene.
on. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what just took place, but my entire system went black. I have 3 monitors here in front of me, and all of them went black, and the whole thing just shut down. So hopefully, if it's a heat thing, I got a fan running on it here. So thank you guys for keeping it going. That's phenomenal. I'm just going to sign off. You guys talk for a while. I'll be back later.
Yeah.
All right. So talk to us about the week down there.
This was a trip. I mean, it was. I'm not going to lie. It took all our extra finances, as you know, we have kids. Have a kid in college. Have 2 teenage boys. Got my business,
eating machines.
Eric's business. So it was what I figured out was. If this is something that you're going to do on a regular basis, it's definitely something you have to invest a lot of money and time into. So in going into that, we only had the amount of time to drive there, pre-fish, and then fish, and then come back. So ideally, I think probably the hardest part of doing this tournament was not having enough time to figure out the lake, and just going in with both feet and just knowing my capabilities and my abilities with the equipment I had and stuff like that, and just staying positive. So we left on Friday? Mm-hmm. On Friday, ended up in Kansas City, Missouri. Stayed the night there, and then went from there to Chattanooga, which is where the tournament was. We showed up there Sunday night. We were very tired, very, very tired. And then Monday, we had the opportunity to, they give us like a map of launch points. And obviously that lake is huge. And so what our idea was, I had to register at what time? It was 6 o'clock that Monday. So our idea was, I'm not going to launch on Monday because you can get caught up in one area and then that's it. So what we did was we just drove from launch point to launch point all the way up to Dayton, I think. No,
we didn't. We almost got to Dayton. We were working our way up to Dayton for the registration.
And just eyeballing everything and seeing if there were things that I was familiar with, structure or just things that when you're fishing is the same anywhere you go, right? So by the time we got up to Dayton, we had only made it around one side halfway up the lake.
It's a big place.
Yeah. So after we registered, I had to do that pretty quickly. We wanted to check. We had probably another hour of daylight after I registered, that was super awesome experience too. But we were able to hit maybe 2 or 3 more spots on the opposite side of the lake coming back from Dayton. And at that point, we were on a road called May Road, and that my grandma's name is May. So I thought that's a sign right there, right? And that's me. So we went down there, and how do I explain that area?
It looked good.
There was a bridge. There was riprap rock. That's what I love fishing, is the transition from that. There was a dock. There was there was some buoys, some stick ups and things like that I'm familiar with fishing. So we thought we'll pre-fish here tomorrow, so we at least had a place we felt comfortable that I liked. And I had a starting point at least. And so this is already Monday night.
Right.
So we go back, get up to pre-fish the next morning. It was about 5 in the morning. So probably 3 o'clock your Colorado time. Right. And so we get back over there. It's about an hour from our hotel. So get over there, launch. I fished that for I don't know. How long did I fish that for?
Enough to know you didn't like it.
I fished the whole thing, the whole darn thing. And I didn't catch one fish. I didn't get one bite. And at that point, I, of course, was shedding some tears.
To add to the frustration, I was sticking fish on ramps.
Oh yeah,
So in my head, I'm like, she's getting ready to go whack him.
But not in this location.
No, not in this. But there was fish, and all you wanted was your first fish to build confidence.
Sure, yeah, and so yeah, I think when I first launched my kayak, some electronics weren't working. It just was like it's that thing, where your fear is, I don't know, my fear was letting everybody down, right? And I'm thinking, if I can find the fish, I can catch them. I know I can, but I didn't have enough time. You know what I mean? And this was one tiny little cove off this massive lake, right? And so the water in this area was crystal clear, and which is super weird because all the other launch points were dirty and muddy. And I don't know how to explain Chickamauga, but it's a dam. So it's a dam on one side and it's a dam on the other. And we talked to some locals and they're like, they don't fill it up till April, the middle of April.
Something that gets to summer pool.
So everything I watched before going there, everything I looked at, everything I studied was not in the water. So here I am sitting there going, I have nothing, literally nothing other than instinct, right? And so basically I just told Eric that evening, I don't want to come back here, right? I don't feel it. So he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to start at the dam right by Nick Jack, at the bottom, the very first launch point, let's just launch there. You know what I mean? Because I had nothing. I literally had nothing.
Well, I'm going to interject a little bit here. So to kind of compare it to the Elite Series a little bit, she's an instinctual angler like John Cox, right? But you got Gussie who's looking at his electronics. He's got waypoints. He's got everything. You got John Cox who's going, dude, that looks good. I'm going to fish that. Leslie is an instinctual angler. Yeah. So like I know a lot of people are going to go, well, what about channel swings? What about this? What about that? We're from Colorado. We're not going up 2 miles into a creek. Channel swings still come into play, but if you know how to catch fish, like she was just saying, and she does, you can ride that instinctual thing. But when there's not enough time to effectively eliminate water, I think that's the biggest thing that I learned from this is the first day is a wash because you're so tired from the drive that you're driving around and your brain's trying to work, but really it's like I was looking at her and saying duh, and she was looking at me saying duh is what it felt like.
Oh yeah.
Like there wasn't enough time. And then the emotion part, this is where I got emotional. And I'm not an emotional person at all. Like I'm just not. I have a gift. What do you want me to say? When she said, I don't want to let everybody down, I said, damn it, woman. The whole thing that you have is that you fish for fun. If you lose that, you're running to the middle. Do you. Just do you 1,000%. Do you? Meanwhile, I'm trying to help her, but I know I can't help her, if that makes any sense. So I'm watching the internal struggle, and the whole time I'm thinking, I totally get it. This is the way I feel every time I fish a tournament, but this is you. This is not, you know what I mean? So it's like this thing where after the first launch, right? And I'll tell you that I know dudes that would have quit an hour in. Like it was that miserable.
Well, let's back up.
Okay, back up.
Okay. So I was having all kinds of friends and stuff, everyone reach out and, try this, try that, or what, we had enough tackle in the truck to probably rig everybody in the tournament. And then some. I had 8 rods rigged for pre-fishing. I had big baits. I had chatterbait. I had crankbaits. I had lipless. I had I'm a finesse fisherman mainly, so I had all that rigged up. I had all those baits, I had those boxes in every color, right? So every situation, you know, if it's like, oh, the water's clear, oh, I got to switch, you know, or oh, the water's muddy, I got to switch. But I had those 8 main baits in every color you could think of, right? And I just couldn't get a bite. I couldn't get a bite. So not only did I not have a place, I didn't have an idea of what to use. So here I am on day one, you know, and it's intimidating when you're registering. I mean, you've got these these people, their equipment is ridiculous. Okay, let's go back to that. I have my pedals. I don't have a motor. So I knew, and like I said, I don't have live scope. Could I have used Eric's? Yeah, but you know, I was familiar with my stuff. All I really need is depth and structure. So I knew what I was capable of. I couldn't go 20 miles up the river. You know what I mean? I had to find a spot, and I just didn't have that spot. So I went to bed that night feeling pretty uneasy or whatever. And then we woke up. What was that? Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday morning, and it was just pouring. It was just pouring rain.
We knew it was going to be pouring.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was going to be raining.
No.
I didn't know it was going to be pouring.
Yeah.
But we headed out.
The rain's different down south and out east than it is out here. We live in a desert. And when they open up rain, they mean rain, y'all. It's coming.
Yeah, it just did not. So I told Eric, oh my God, I wish it would just stop for like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Like 2 minutes or whatever. It didn't stop. We launched at the dam. There were boat docks. There were, I worked the ramp. I casted, I casted at the ramp, sideways on the ramp, the rock on the side of the ramp. I mean, everywhere you would catch a bass hanging out where there would be heat, I was casting at it. I was covering water with jerk baits. I was dragging the bottom with a jig. I was over at the boats, and I was just, netting each pole, every post, I had my Texas rig, and I was dragging it along the transition. I mean, everything I could do, I was doing. The only thing I didn't do was my swim bait rod, because I was frozen. Like at that point, you get to a point where it's almost hard to tie a knot, and you're just trying to function. Luckily I had Eric with me. I was able to get out of the water and launch at 5.
4. No, was it 5? 5.
I think I loaded and unloaded on 5 different launch points that day. And finally, I think it was at, I don't know, 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
2:30 at the last launch point, I caught my first bass. And I was like, I win. I won. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even care if I catch another bass from here on out. This is it. I was holding it in the air. You know what I mean? I was just like checking it out.
There's something to be said for that first fish. The first and the fifth. Those are big fish to catch. For sure.
My God. It was caught. I caught it on the Ned, straight braid. It was a darker bait. And I think it was 14 and a half. It wasn't huge. And all I could do, I bet it took me a half an hour to get the picture because of the rain. I had my friend over in the net, and I was just trying to get it, it clear enough to get the picture. And then I would go to get my phone out, and it's pouring, you know what I mean? So I was like trying to hover over the thing or whatever. I was just like, but finally I submitted it, got accepted. And that was day one. That literally was day one.
So before you go too much further, I wanted to get a chance to interject just a couple things, and take this for what it's worth.
Sure.
You are not alone. everything that you just went over, and I've been writing it down, equipment issues, your map study or pre-study that you did going into that didn't check out when you got there.
Right.
Your confidence, trying to establish a level of personal confidence in the deal. Waters, just in these waters across the country are different. And the bodies of water, they fish differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely do not take any of this as some sort of measure of you. Because, champ, I'm telling you right now, we all deal with this. And what you felt, that frustration, trust me, I just had 2 tournaments back to back just like that.
Yeah.
And so oh man, the empathy pouring for me right now and just feeling for you on this, man, that's part of it, right? I mean, that's part of this sport that people don't realize, that there is so much more than, it's not just throwing a pole out and going fishing. When you're
Right.
going against the best anglers in the country, and you were, like you
Yeah.
said, you see the equipment, you see the stuff out there. And even for Tim Gurley, actually, who has joined us here, he was in that event with you. This is
Okay.
a good friend of ours. Like he says, that thing was rough on everybody out there.
Yeah, I
So
think it was like 18 people that didn't catch a fish
yeah,
or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm telling you, it was, I mean, you were not in an easy place. So the fact that you stayed sound here, even though you had your ins and outs, you
Yeah.
stayed strong there. You're sitting here smiling. You're still our champ, no matter what. One
Yeah.
event does not measure anything, okay?
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. And the people, the
Yeah.
thing you said about that people thing, oh my gosh, I'm telling you guys, every day when I go out, I've got what I feel is the entire Romans Warrior Foundation. I've got vets and first responders and supporters watching us out there, cheering for us.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is go out and squawk one out, and
I
I'm
know.
like, oh man, they're expecting me to do something here. So I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
I feel where you're at. And yes, you're all right, champ. It's all
Yeah.
good.
It's funny, the contrast between what you two just said and what I feel when I fish tournaments. I feel everybody wants to kick my ass.
Well, we do.
I don't know if you're wrong. No, not. I mean, the other anglers, that's a different story, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the interesting, like me being what I do for work and what my background is,
Right.
I saw the net come out. So I'm at the boat ramp. I got my computer. I'm attempting to work. I'm not doing a good job at it. I see the net come out. I grab my camera. I run down to the boat ramp, and like I'm trying to think of a PC way to say it, but I'm not PC. So like a second grade girl, I started crying, like real tears, and
That's awesome.
I screamed, "Yeah, babe!" And the way that this area was set up, there's these huge houses in the background, and it echoed over and over and over again. And I kind of went,
awesome.
I hope I didn't. But it was I say this not in a way to diminish what she did, but just to kind of express how it felt. The first time you watched Rudy and he got in at the end and he got a sack, that's what I felt like, because I saw her launch point after launch point getting her butt kicked, like losing confidence, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. And for a lot of people, it's that time where it's like, this is too hard. I can't do this.
Oh, yeah.
And to see her just determined, frozen, and all these other things to get it, I was like, this, I think we put 3,200 miles on the truck.
Mhm.
Dude, if that's the only fish she caught, it was worth it times 2.
I'm telling you, the reason it was so exciting to you, bro, is because I mean, though it's only the people that have been in her shoes that can understand. And I think I know. I mean, I know where you're at, but I've never even had an opportunity to fish at that level. I would love the chance to go out there, but so I know that had to compound it even more. The fact that you're at the national championship for our sport, the pinnacle, right? I mean, the event. So yeah, it had to just be, yeah, I totally get it, Eric. I'd be in the same position, dude. There's a reason I tell people about this. If you watch at the pro level in the boats, there's a reason these very weathered and endurable human beings, these salty stained guys, there's a reason these grown men break into complete tears and blubber when they win one of these events, because of how much goes into this and how many days like that we have to go through to get there.
There's no between for most of us. It's either you're the next KVD or you're questioning why you're doing it, right? and then the other part of that, and I told her this, as we're going from point A to point B, I'm trying to interject how good she is,
Right.
Because it's that thing where we all have on the water, the self-doubt, when that starts creeping in, it's such a slippery slope. But I told her, I said, dear, you fish against 15 to 20 of the best hammers in the state of Colorado that have to fish different conditions, that know these lakes inside and out. You're fishing against people at Pueblo, where you won the state championship, that have fished that lake for 25 years. You know what I mean? So like the experience that the first tournament she fished at Pueblo, she was barely kayak fishing at that point. It was like the second time you were on a kayak, right?
Yeah.
And what'd you finish, 17th or something like that? And then 2 years later, she wins state. I feel like this is going to be the same thing at the national level if she wants to fish, some of the Hobie events, some of the KBF stuff, or win state again at a lake she's very familiar with, Horsetooth. That it's just a step. And you got a beautiful Facebook post of the steps.
Well, I there's no doubt I tried my hardest.
Sure.
Everything I could do, every technique I knew. I just didn't find where I needed to be.
Well,
it happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes it happens.
If it was like what's your most important thing you could take in your tackle box, right? And mine would be, I would say, time. That's the most important thing to have in your tackle box is time. Is there just wasn't enough time. And I know I had my dress with me to walk on that stage. If I had more time, I could have figured it out, but I just didn't have enough time. It's just the way it was.
And the other thing too, you're talking about the mecca of kayak fishing, right? In that area.
Oh, and a motor would have been nice too. That would have been good too.
But like Chatfield, so for CKB, our first tournaments at Chatfield, I will be fishing single rocks that I know. In that area of Tennessee, you've got a group of 25, 30 anglers. And it's not like they planned where the championship's at, but they really, really know that water. And it's the same thing. They're targeting single rocks. They know where fish winter. They know where they stage first. They know all these different things.
They had more time.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But I think with 2 more days, this is my thought process. If 2 more days, I think everybody's more dangerous. I think giving yourself really 1 day of pre-fishing on a body of water that big is setting yourself up. Yeah, it's not even enough.
It's not enough. No. When you have to go out and identify, what I have found myself is when I travel around, which I do all over the country, I try to give myself 2 full days because I make a decision before I get there, basically on the area, the side of the lake I'm going to focus on. And then I just force myself to stick to that game plan and find there are fish there. Now I just got to find out where they're at. Now the question is, did I choose the quality fish this time? The last year I was great at going the opposite direction of them. I'd find fish, but they were the little guys, and the big ones were always elsewhere. But it is that sort of thing there. I find if I get myself, that 3-4 days, I start to spin out. I get too much info. So finding what works for you, if it's 3 days or if it's 2 or whatever. But one is, if you're doing that kind of fishing, 1 is just not enough to get real comfy, and feel good about going into that. Especially then, throw in the weather with that, and yikes, that's going to rock to it.
Yeah.
So how did it change? How did it change your day 2 approach after you have that? You come home, you get showered up, you get warmed up. Day 2.
The next day,
sleep for 7 days.
I slept from 5 o'clock to the next day. So when I was out fishing day 1, there was this. I think it was our 3rd launch point. There was this buoy area, and I was finding piles of crappie, right? I was finding and I mean, I don't know what they were on. I'm assuming some sort of brush pile or something like that. And so I had mentioned that to Eric. I couldn't really fish it that day it was raining because it was just too rough. And so we went back
Mhm.
to that area first. And when I got out there, sure enough, there were brush piles around that area or whatever. And honestly, I wasn't marking a whole lot of anything but walleye. So that was kind of interesting. But there was like a little cut that, and actually Eric and I kind of argued about this a little bit, about using a jig versus.
I'm a power fisherman. Like the reason I use finesse in Colorado is because I have to, not because I want to.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't know how to say this with sounding cool. You know what I mean? Leslie's a really, really good angler, but I didn't think she'd be fishing the national championship a couple years in. So I haven't had time to like show her some things.
Yeah, he's like, I haven't showed you everything. I actually am pretty versatile. I just prefer what I like. And that's basically what I like. And so he's like, do this or do that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. So I did what I thought. And sure as shit, I went right around the corner and I sent him a picture and I go, oh, ta-da. You know what I mean? And then I went down this little cut and it was kind of, I don't know, it was like the middle of it was a lot deeper than the edges. And I thought there was nobody back there. And I thought, you know what? I know what the edges of this place looks like. I'm going to go right down the middle. I'm just going to go down the middle and see what's down there, right? And about every 10 to 12 feet, there was some sort of brush pile with it looked like crappie. They were, the way they're shaped or whatever. I'm assuming they were crappie. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to drop down right on top of that because I'm telling you what, where they are, there's my friends, right? So I dropped it down and get hit. And I caught 3. I think I caught 3 that day or whatever. I probably should have stayed there, but I wandered off toward the river part, which actually was only about 1.5 to 2 feet deep, which is really strange to me. And then made my way back to where I found
where you caught fish the first day.
My one fish. I made my way back down that way, and I caught another fish actually in that area. But yeah, it just goes to show whatever you prefer to use, like you have to stick to that. You have to use that because it's what you know best. It's what you feel the best with.
That's what they mean when they say fish your confidence. Your confidence baits. You're gonna end up gravitating back to it eventually. Especially when things get tough. So yeah, for sure.
Yep. So that the weather was, it warmed up toward the end of the day, but it was still pretty chilly, and the water was pretty blown out, and it was pretty packed. Actually, there was a lot of people out there.
Well, and I have to say something else. So for one, what passes for a boat trailer in the state of Tennessee is just mind-boggling because I saw some exposed bearings and some other stuff that was just.
We saw a lot of stuff,
but there was other kayak anglers at this second spot, or the spot where she called it a day. Yeah. They finished about an hour early, and they didn't finish an hour early because they were making the top 10. They finished an hour early because it was so dang hard that they had enough of it. Yep. And seeing her stick it out, it just really reaffirms just the tenacity that she has, right? Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's like there are times like when your trolling motor doesn't work where you don't have a choice, dude. For safety, you got to go. But if it's within your power to stay on the water, and if nothing else, embrace the suck for the fish gods, you do it. You don't leave. And a lot of people in local tournaments or whatever, I see them leave early, and I'm not judging anybody, but the way that I fish, the way that you fish, it's you play till the whistle blows, even if it sucks. So that was really, really cool. Seeing her not give up. And then when she came in, I'm overwhelmed with joy and pride. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I'm super competitive. She's super, super competitive. But there's a John Wooden quote that I'm going to butcher. And I say this to the boys. I say it to Jordan when she's listening to me. And the gist of it is the definition of success is the self-satisfaction of knowing you did the best you're capable of. So when you play it to the bone the way that she did, there's nothing else that can be done.
Right. And that's the key. You pour everything you got in there, and at the end of the day, you have zero to be embarrassed or ashamed of or feeling down on, because you made the decisions you had to make given the information that you had at that given time. And it sounds like, I can tell just from hearing you talk here, and I can see the look on your face as you're talking about these things. The motors are still cranking. You're still processing everything that you saw there, which means you're just getting stronger, champ. You're just getting better. I mean, things are just coming together. Strawbridge has got a heck of a quote here. Comment: how would she feel if she wins Horsetooth? Will she go again?
That's funny, James. That's actually the lake I learned to bass fish on. So I'm really excited that you guys picked that for the championship, because
are you, if you do it, are you going back to the national championship again?
I believe, I mean, what else do you do? I mean,
I've played the supportive husband role for a very long time. She's not beating me. Okay. But yes, yeah. I mean,
this is getting tough for us as a couple, you guys, because
I was doing map study yesterday on John Martin, and I had to shut the computer.
You had to hide your waypoints from her.
Yeah, he's like, Chatfield. We do league night at Chatfield like every Wednesday through the summer, and he's like, you can't go to that place first. And
I'm grandfathered in on some of these spots. All right, she's got spots that are her spots, but I'm grandfathered in on some of the other stuff.
Do you have 2 laptops?
What's that?
Do you have 2 laptops?
That's the thing. She's like John Cox. She's an instinctual.
No laptop. I know where.
I don't need
trees on that side. I know where to go.
So meanwhile, when I pre-fish, I don't know. I probably 200. That might be exaggerating. About 100 waypoints. I'll mark all the humps. I'll mark rock piles. I'll mark little transitions that I need to see. And when I pre-fish, I'm just eliminating a couple of the things that I put down. Meanwhile, like she said, she'll go, there's one spot that we fish on Chatfield where I'm looking at my waypoints, and she gets closer with her damn trees than I do on the screen sometimes, because I'm looking at it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. But
yeah. But yes, if I qualified again, I definitely would go again for sure.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing I learned, I mean, I don't feel bad about my goal was to not get skunked. I didn't get skunked. I turned 4 fishing, and then to be in the top 100 at least. And I was 99. So that was pretty rad.
My thing is that, and this comes at no discredit to the anglers that she competed against. It's the best in the country. I get that, but I feel like tournament after tournament, we compete against some of the best kayak anglers in the country.
Yeah.
When you're talking CKB, there is no fat on the roster. I mean, there really isn't. And it's people that know the water, that are learning the water more with each passing tournament.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's one of those things that on Chick, if she would have had the time, there's enough just mass where you could find what I call moderate water. So there's always going to be, the best spots are always going to be loaded with people, right? But they're sharing fish. Moderate water is where you find fish that you can pick apart and you have that to yourself. In Colorado, we don't have moderate water, dude.
No.
You're competing against the best people in the state. And I'm telling you right now, I think we should set something up where we fish against the dudes in boats, because I don't think they can compete. Not with the guys in the kayaks. I just and sweet ladies in the kayaks. I have that much confidence in the hammers that we have out here. Yeah. And I know that knowing what we learned, one more day would make a huge difference. Just eliminating water, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's the trick, right? It's when you do this across the country, like a few of us do, it's you try to take the dumpster, fire, like what happened down at Gunnersville to me, and then you try to take the good from it and build, and don't repeat it again. So you take small victories where you can. When you don't fish that much across the nation, same thing though. you take this event, and you can take the do's and the don'ts. Now that for sure you want to make sure that you guys can get in your schedule that second day in there. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it just absolutely. And then there's always, like we always try to tell people, it's like getting just outside the state boundaries, hitting Kansas, hitting Nebraska. These are different waters out there that we get a chance to fish there, and it helps build that confidence that I can go into another body of water, I can
Well,
break
that's
it down in a couple days, and I can find fish.
And that's another thing that this trip taught us, was that we can travel outside of Colorado to do this. It's possible. I mean, this this trip for our first out of state trip was like, it was so far, and so you know what I mean. It
I was
like,
going to say that is a long haul trip. I've done it a couple times. That is a
we can put in
long
the
drive.
trips, you know what I mean. So we're set up. We're ready to go, huh? We're gonna.
A couple lessons that I think are important to note of this journey that we took, that you guys do quite often. Mexican food outside of Colorado is much different.
Yes,
I
it
know.
is.
We
Most
Yeah.
people don't know what green chili
got a
is.
Mexican food restaurant outside of, where were we?
It was right on the lake.
I don't know. And I'm looking at the menu, and Eric's like, "I'll have a bean and cheese burrito." And he looks at me, and I'm like, "I'll have a cheeseburger, please." And
When my Latina wife ordered a cheeseburger, I should have known.
yeah,
Yeah.
when they call it burrito sauce, it's cheeseburger time. Cheeseburger time.
Oh, I love me some burrito sauce, man. I gotta tell you.
What's that burrito sauce look like? He goes, "It's kind of red." I go, "Well, I'll have a cheeseburger. Give me that cheeseburger."
But the other thing too is it made me proud to be an angler, seeing the culture that surrounds that lake.
Oh,
Just it's one of those things in Colorado. I think we have so many things to do, right? You could ski, you could snowboard, you could hike, you could trout fish, you can walleye fish, whatever. Seeing a mass of bass anglers,
yes,
and how they love it, which is how we love it, and then just talking to different folks. I was talking to Scott from Hog Farmer, and then as that's running with the classic and all the rest of the stuff, it was just like, I'm glad to be a part of our tribe.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's one of the things that I love so much, like about Missouri and the Ozarks and Midwest. Anglers are not an oddity, right? We're welcomed into these communities because they know, especially when there's an event, we're bringing commerce to their local area. And they know this because that's what a lot of these little towns are built on, that kind of stuff. They're looking for us. We're out here, we're kind of a pest to some folks. They look at especially bass anglers. That's the oddball. There's bass in this state, type thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I totally get it, man. You get down, and that is such a beautiful area where you guys went. We were just down there. Gunnersville's real close to that whole area. It's the the same. And then we were in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which isn't only, I want to say it's a couple hours, maybe an hour or so away from Chat. And so it's a beautiful section of the country down there. Yeah. And it does feel good to be welcomed.
Well, and just to counterpoint myself a little bit, we had to stop for gas in the armpit of Kansas, and there was a couple heifers working at gas stations that dude, like, you talk about welcoming commerce, like it was bad. It was bad. Yeah. It was awful. They were rude to me, and it's the first time I'm trying to think of how to word this in a proper way. I don't think they were used to somebody that looked like my sweet lady on top of it. So it was a stop. The Dairy Queen. Let me put it this way. It was a stop that I will never make again. I will not spend $1 in that town. What was there was something on one of the live feeds where it was like a bro cousin or something. What was that? Oh, that's going to drive me nuts.
Yeah. Your cousin.
There was a lot of cousins.
Not your cousin.
Yeah.
That is one of the aspects, man. You get a chance to see so much of this country when you travel to that stuff. Yeah. And you learn the areas where you just maybe take it out of the glove box and set it by the dash, hold her there. Exactly. And then there's other areas where you feel like you're kin. when you
Yeah.
go through the area.
I could move to Tennessee, right? Like it's so easy. Missouri was beautiful. Some parts of St. Louis were
Stay
Yeah,
out of the
but-
cities.
Yeah.
I've learned all the big cities have just as bad a traffic as Denver does now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's all just
Yeah.
junk.
I don't think so because it was cold when we were there. I think if Eric felt it in the summer, he would feel a little bit different.
If there's 10-pound bass, I'm in. Like I'm definitely in. We
You
did
could put up with a lot for
in
double digits.
Yeah.
I'll sacrifice.
We did stop somewhere in Southern Illinois that I did a Facebook post about, and I think I made somebody mad by saying it, but it's just an observation. The only thing that was missing was Walter White. That's what it felt like. So it's like, half my family's from Commerce City. I'm not a stranger to that kind of stuff. I know what it looks like. But Tennessee was beautiful, and
it's very pretty.
The rolling hills, the mass of water, all the creeks. Like I would love to spend a day just fishing the creeks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was quite the experience, and I'm very, very proud, and I think the whole state's proud.
I was going to say, for being one of the guys that you kicked, his butt out there, I can tell you, your credentials are sound. You are firmly locked in. You are our state champion for the CKB, and we're damn proud to have you as that champ. And yeah, that's one event. That's all it is. And what an awesome deal that you can sit here now and talk about that. There's some old cats running around out there that have never felt that. And I mean, very envious of you having that opportunity that you earned. That's the other thing is when you start getting down on that stuff, remember, you earned your way there. That wasn't handed to you. So no, you're sound. You're sound, and Chatfield's coming, and I'm sure you guys. I have no clue. I know there's gravel pits out there, and I've been talking to a few guys, trying to ask about where in the heck are those at when I'm looking at my maps. So yeah, I'm excited to go fish it. I've never fished it, so this is going to be some fun. Get out there and hit some of these.
I think the water's up. It's a little higher this
year.
year.
Yeah, so it was low at the end of last year. Nate Zielinski did a video where he said the water's up a couple feet. The funny thing is pre-fishing for this event, for the Chatfield event, could mean absolutely nothing the way our weather is in April.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like we could have a 10-degree swing. We could have a lot of rain. It could come up. Chatfield's one of the lakes. I DQ'd myself last year. I was really, really looking forward to the KBF event last year. So I'm going to be fishing Chatfield with a giant chip on my shoulder from last year because I know my game plan was solid.
Nice.
The only thing that could screw it up a little bit is other people, boats. You know what I mean? There's so many boats.
You need to stay off my spots.
I'm telling you right now, if there's a domestic dispute on Chatfield during the tournament, it's because she's on my spot.
So let me ask you. We know Horsetooth is your fave. That's one of your strong ones there, champ. But looking at the CKB schedule for this year, is there any other event that's sticking out to you that you're super excited to go to?
I mean, Pueblo, of course.
Right.
I mean, gosh, Pueblo, Chatfield. Like I said, we do league night there every week through the summer. Very familiar with that. But I've also skunked on tournaments on that lake also. So, I mean, that's to me, that's a good thing because I know what not to do. Let's see. What else?
We got Nebraska. We got Kansas.
Yep.
Yeah, we plan on doing those.
Nice.
And what's the other one?
I'm a little concerned about weren't you guys? It was like 105 in Nebraska last year.
Oh.
So when we went to Swanson, I registered on one of the practice days 108 degrees with very little wind that day. That was brutal. Thankfully, the following
I'm
day,
going to be okay in that, but I don't know about this fair fella.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If my butt cheeks start sweating, I'm done.
Oh, it was Lake Swass. Trust me, it was flowing, dog. I added something new that I encourage folks. I don't know how other seats work, but on New Canoe it works perfectly. I now have a Camelback that is strapped to my seat with the feed can now come straight up, and bang, man, I got water all. I put like a whole deal of gallon of water, almost half gallon of water fits in that thing, and I'm good for the day, and it stays super cold. It's a ton of good.
So
And like
early
Strawberry
June.
was saying, yes, we went in the dead heat of summer last year. This one we're going in June, which, quite frankly, man, they should just be. I mean, it's going to be so close to the chewing time. This could just be I don't want to say it and hex it, but it took 90 plus to win it last year, and it was in the dead heat of summer. Dude, we could set some numbers on this one, because especially if the water's up.
That's a 2-day event, right?
It's two different events back to back.
Yeah, back to back.
Yep.
So
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, Chatfield, I feel really good about. Lake Pueblo, of course, feel pretty good about. That one and the Norton. I've never been there, so that's what But Horsetooth, that literally was my bass fishing. Like, that's where he taught me how to bass fish.
That's when I first realized that I had an ass kicking coming. Is because I can vividly remember she really started getting good with the net, right? And the net has been something that, like, I mean, obviously I had, because it was something that a tournament was tough. I would tie on a net. I thought of it as a little fish bait, and I was very limited in my view of what it was.
Right.
So there was one trip where, I mean, she was putting it to me, and I was like, okay, that's cute. It's time to go to work. I'm going to show the little lady how the big dog's going to do this. And, she kept up fish after fish after fish. And then I noticed her reeling in a little bit more than I was. And that was the first time that because at first, you have to be honest with yourself. You go, okay, well, she's kind of getting it, but she's not really getting it. But we're putting her in spots where she's going to catch
beginner's luck. Right.
Yeah. She's just a lady. She's not going to. And then it was like 2 or 3 trips like that where I was like, she's going to have to get in the back of the boat now. That didn't help either. So it's one of those, and she just grew time after time. We fished a lot of ponds. And
but Horsetooth for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
during the pandemic, that's what we did. We went to Horsetooth.
I'll tell you, I had a chance to go up and get a drop shot clinic given to me and open my brain by Mr. Strawbridge here in late October.
Last year.
I think it was late October, early November range, and the water was so low at Horsetooth. You want to talk about a guy sitting there and making all of a sudden waypoints everywhere, because what it exposed, I don't remember. The years that I was on the dive rescue team in Larimer County, we used to train at Horsetooth a lot. But to be honest with you, I wasn't looking for things like that.
Yeah.
I was looking at way different areas of that water that I was concerned about. So to go up there now and see that and run along these edges and see these boulders and see these rock piles
and trees
and see where the transitions are. Yeah, I'm sitting there on my phone as I'm going by and I'm mark, and I'm coming home and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to import it, so I'm just going to manually do it. So I'm sitting out in the garage of my kayak, poking stuff on my Garmin's. So yeah, man, it is a ton of fun up there. I'm looking forward to that one myself. That should be a lot of good stuff, especially when we're going. I think it's going to really set up well. We won't have to compete so heavily with a lot of wreck boaters, and so that'll give us some space, some elbow room to actually work out there.
So. I won't have to try to burn a hole in 4 heads with my eyeballs.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that's interesting about Horsetooth is, and I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but there's almost like 2 classes of smallmouth in that lake. There's fish that relate to structure, and they're feeding heavily on craws and all the rest of the stuff, perch, and then there's fish that really key in on bait, like just wherever the bait goes, they go, and in a really great day, if you can kind of see. an area that you're in, if you could see how big the fish that are on the bottom are and how big the fish that are suspended are, I think somebody could break 85, 86 at Horsetooth.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think, and every year as the technology gets better, the information gets better, the anglers improve, you would expect, provided the pressure stays a constant and doesn't increase, too rough, and you would expect that we should see those numbers improve for sure across the board, that somebody's going to hone in on them. Like every tournament, there's always a handful of people. Everybody else skunks, but there's five people that smack, and then you want to choke them out. It's like, where in the hell did you go fishing? Because where I'm at, there's no fish.
I wonder how many people are going to start Demiki after this classic.
Oh, you know the will, brother. You've been in this game a long time. That's going to be people are going to start jumping on it. And of course, I can't wait for the boo-boo birds to come out and beat up on the live scope forward-facing sonar some more. And
what an interesting thought to hover your bait above fish vertically.
Ice fishing 101.
Yeah.
Shotting 101. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Is that still a thing? Are we still doing the Randy Blanket forward-facing sonar hate? Are people still doing that?
Oh yeah, it's still rampant out there. There's actually a club in California that's banned it for this season. They won't let their anglers in boats use it. I'm just like, come on, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Not only is it a debate on the internet, it's a debate in the Allee household.
I see. Well, and I've tried to explain to people that I will say this. Usually, a high percentage of the individuals that don't want it used in tournaments have not used it for any amount of considerable time. Because when you use it for a considerable amount of time, you will realize it isn't see fish, catch fish. It's not like that. It takes hours and days of work to make that thing become really, really useful. You know what I mean? I will tell you, I was at Gunnersville, practiced with it all the way through. After day one, I took it off the kayak. Yep. It went back into the back of my pickup and hasn't been back on my yak since, because I'm not there yet. And I just don't have the time when I'm on the road like that to be trying something new. Exactly. When you're out there, you got to go to work, man.
Yeah.
And I am absolutely a visual target oriented guy. And after now understanding my traditional, using it in a different way now, I get everything accomplished with that I feel strong with, that I know, I feel confident in that myself. So, but then there's other guys that are just absolutely deadly, like yourself, with that live scope. I believe Trev, if he's still with us here, Trev is also pretty deadly with the live scope. But it just didn't happen. You guys worked your ass off to understand it. It's like traditional sonar compared to flasher.
Yeah.
How many people wanted the traditional sonar outlawed back when it first came out? It's like, come on, it's technology, nothing more.
Well, and the thing is the balance, right? It's just like anything else. It cost me. It won me my first tournament last year, and it cost me 2 of them at least. Because once you get too reliant on it, you forget that, dude. I don't care where, even in Colorado, like finesse is super important out here. There's no doubt about it, but. There's a time where you need to turn the damn screen off and cover water. You just put a square bill in your hand, go to work and hit as much water as you can. And when you eliminate that from your toolbox, when you've had it for 25 years or whatever it is,
yep,
it's a negative, not a positive. It's a net negative. So it's like that you putting it away is brilliant when you're not at the level when you don't have your 10,000 hours.
Yep.
Right. When you have your 10,000 hours, that's when you have to go, okay, this is not, I know this costs $2,000, but it's not helping me today. It's time to cover water, or I don't need forward-facing sonar to pitch at a stump in 2 foot of water.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That kind of balance. And I do think that, I think like Leslie, her fishing with her Garmin, dude, how many of us had forward-facing sonar last year at Pueblo?
Right.
Trev's got it. I think Strawbridge had it. Caleb's got it. And they all used it at Pueblo. I know I used
had
it.
I had it.
There we go. You know what I mean? And we got beat with an ice unit.
Yep.
It's not just an ice.
It could have been. Yeah. You would have still beat us.
Yeah. Call it what you want.
It's it's another tool in the arsenal out there, and it kind of is what it is. Now there are cases where it pays off. There's cases where it doesn't, and there's no like unfair situation like motors with kayaks in the state of Colorado. Yeah. It really doesn't provide you a huge advantage. Now, does it make things easier on you in practice? Yep. Mm-hmm. You can cover more water in practice with it. But on tournament day, our top 2 in points of AOY last year, neither one of them have a motor. And they're in the motor allowed, deal.
The interesting thing, I watch Christine Fisher. She's obviously one of the female kayak fishermen that I watch. She was saying she covered over 20 miles.
Oh yeah, she's a freak of nature.
But with her motor, like in that tournament on that day, she covered over 20 miles of, going back and forth and looking, and it's like
I'm joining the dark side.
So obviously in those places you have to have a motor. Like there's just no.
I'll tell you this though, with Fisher, I know many people that know her directly and fish against her. She could probably do that even with just pedaling. She is a freak of nature when it comes to her ability to cover water. A very good friend of mine, Josh Deal. He too can log. This guy is like, you want to talk about a big dude. Eric, you would love this because you and I, neither one of us would be considered big next to him. He's 6'7", like 300 pounds. And he's in that Hobie PA14. And dude, those mountainous legs of his, he will put down 15 miles in a day. And that's a normal day for him. Crazy. He takes care of his body and goes through this. But you're right, though. I mean, when it does come to, if you get into other waters outside our state,
big waters,
where you need maybe trailering isn't the deal. Maybe you want to cover and fish your way to this other water. Yeah, man, the motor is definitely an advantage there.
If there's one thing I came back with several things, but the perception of our lakes versus those lakes look like one cove
ponds
in the lake. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to start this season.
I've got a Minn Kota transom mount Minn Kota that I haven't used. It's 55-pound thrust. I haven't used it for 2 or 3 years. I had it for a little John boat. I'm chopping it. I'm building a control box. I'm putting it on the back. I'm still going to run my drive, but it's one of those things to where I used to do like you're talking about, the guy that does 15 miles. There's times at Boyd where I think I did 12 miles on a small, because I would go back and forth. And, you talk about the fella that takes care of his body. I like donuts. All right. I like donuts. Probably not going to change. Maybe it'll change, but not anytime soon. So if I get a motor, it just means that I can use my energy for mental focus and not moving. You know what I mean? In that regard, it's legit. One of the reasons why I didn't get on the motor kick early was I didn't see it on the national level and what an advantage it was. Yeah. B, there was times where I think that if you guys had a motor, you had to launch a little bit later than we did because you had to get inspected early on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with me, I was like, dude, this is one more reason I don't want a motor.
Yep.
Now that we're all launching the same time, like, why would I not want a motor at this point? You know what I mean? Like, I put an Evinrude on the back of my damn Hobie if I could at this point. So
we, and that's with the new canoes, man. I will tell you, I absolutely love my Unlimited. And when I lost the ability to use my trolling motor out there on Lake of the Pines, I love that boat, but I'll tell you what, I am not going to be paddling or pedaling that thing across, because I had to cover 1.5 miles in about 15, sustained winds with some 20, 25 gusts going. Thankfully, the half mile was the hardest, and after I got that last mile, I had the wind kind of at my back. It was cross hitting me, so paddling, that whole distance there, it just reaffirmed the fact that, you know what? No, for me personally, the motor is a safety factor. I can stay. I tried, I didn't have an anchor. That was the other thing, is I got rid of my anchor. I just trimming out the boat, thinning things out. Had I had an anchor, I would have stayed out and tried to just, scrounge up little dinks if I could, with a drop shot or whatever. So yeah, but no, it just locked it back in my head that yes, I'm very thankful for the motor piece that I have out there, and that
how wide is that new canoe?
41 inches wide.
Oh, dude, so you're hand paddling a battleship.
Pretty much, yeah. You want to get to about a 280 on your paddle to really get it right, and I think I'm running a 260, 270. So yeah, there's a lot of bending. I don't get a chance to really rotate too much. But there's worse thing. If I had a 280 or 290, even for that matter, it would have been a little bit easier. But I had so much stuff. I ended up having to pull in my transducers, so I wasn't hitting them as I'm trying to, paddle the thing. And for a guy that's not an experienced paddler, I just was going back to remembering my 101 course, twist at the hips, twist at the, torso twist, not at the arms. So yeah. I felt swole, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always get conflicted with, which is in tournaments at home, Leslie brings 4 rods usually, a couple Plano boxes, and that's it. This year on my kayak, I'm adding an HDS 12. I'm taking it off the boat as a mapping unit, and then I've got a Carbon 7, so I'll have a mapping unit, I'll have a live unit, and then if I add a trolling motor, obviously I have to have more battery. So, I mean, it's one of those things to where Trev said earlier about balance with live scope. When it comes to bells and whistles, knowing the balance is tough, and it's different for each person. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I hate splitting my screen to, like, I just changed my prescription on my glasses. So I have a 7-inch screen. If I split it with a map on this side and live scope on this side, it's just not enough.
That's going to be tough. 7-inch screen to split in half. I've got a 9, and yeah, it's already strained at the 9. That's about as low as I would go. I had a 10 from my boat on there, but I just found it a little too bulky. And the 10 is the HD, so it pulls a lot more juice.
Yeah.
For me, the Garmin 9 was the balance that we're talking about. You gotta have some give and take with everything out there. So,
see, in the 12, let me just preface this by saying I'm not balling. I got it on my Lund, so I'm just going to pull it off of my Lund, put it on the kayak. And meanwhile, she thinks I'm crazy.
Hey, back-to-back state champ sitting here. You're balling, dog. It's all right. It's all good. You drop your
I'm telling you,
12s and
CKB is, and I like both clubs, right? But CKB, I'm trying to think of how to say this. It's the home of hammers.
Yeah.
Really. And Horsetooth, Strawbridge has probably got 20 plus years fishing Horsetooth. Trev's been fishing kayak tournaments since they came out here. So that's 7 years or something like that. I haven't fished it that long, but once I lock on to something, I don't stop. So how many days do you think we have on Horsetooth? Hundreds.
I don't remember. It's just exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And
Mr. Zimmer's been known to put some damage down on Horsetooth as well.
Well, and he's got his buddy won it a couple years ago, right? Yeah. He had a buddy that won it because I think I took 3rd in that one.
I think the neat thing is like you're talking about all the stuff you want to put on your kayak, and so everybody has their own way.
Oh yeah,
their own thing going. And anybody when.
And it comes with, like we've said this before, there's pros and cons. I find myself finding the battle on my Unlimited where I like the minimalist approach, man. The more I can take off of there and leave off of there, the better I feel. But at the same time, I don't want to go out there and damn it, I wish I had this, type thing
Yeah.
or whatever. So you
Yeah.
try to build from the core and only use what you think you're really going to need and stick to your strengths. I mean, that's the key. Fish your strengths and you're going to be fine.
I'm trying to max out the weight limit on my Hobie, both in gear and in myself. Not only I'd sell burritos off of it if I could. I
was going to say, might I recommend some good burrito sauce? That might.
Yes. Burrito sauce.
It's funny too, because when I wanted a bean and cheese burrito, it's just because I didn't want to risk getting sick on the drive home. So what they gave me was a tortilla with cheese inside of it and beans on the side and burrito sauce on the other side.
So before I let you guys go, we're going to wrap this up, but there is something I got to ask because I follow reading your stuff. I mean, you are absolutely an extremely talented wordsmith, Mr. Allee. And so reading your stuff is, you got to talk to me. You're driving down the road. Why'd your feet stank so bad, dog? What happened? What happened there?
So two things. Two things. Okay. First, anybody that's ever wore Crocs without socks knows what's going on. All right. I don't need to say more there. The second thing is, outside of Leslie's beautiful fish catches, probably the most amazing moment of the trip was me cracking a toilet seat in Missouri.
Oh God!
I'm not even joking. Like we drove for 12 hours or whatever. I sat down to go to the restroom, and I'm like a minute in.
Oh my God!
And I hear a crack. I thought it was my ankle.
Oh.
And legit, I thought it was my ankle. So I was like, no big deal. I can walk it off. If it's hurt, it's fine, whatever. So I go to bed. I wake up, and I don't remember what I asked Leslie, but it was, I said, it was the weirdest thing last night. She goes, yeah, you cracked the toilet seat. And I just, and the funny thing is I texted it to my mom, and I'm talking to her, and she goes, she's trying to make excuses. She goes, Eric, it was an old toilet seat. And then legit, I remember looking at it. And
it's pretty brand new.
Well constructed too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what to take from that. I think most people would probably slim up, but I did eat 2 Long Johns the morning of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Them feet.
Yeah,
you guys are making me out to be some kind of ogre.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this is like fishing with Shrek. We're gonna get you a little Shrek emblem. We're gonna put on the side of your kayak.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, I can't thank you enough for stopping by again. I've said this before. We need to do this more often for sure. We'll try to catch up, see if we can do something like this before, at the end of the CKB season here, before we get to the state championship. We'll talk about it there and see if we can do like a round table of a bunch of CKB. We can get
That'd
I
be
want to
fun.
say, I was going to say, I think I can get in one broadcast. I think we can put like up to 10 people. So
That'd be funny.
it'd be a ton of
That'd be
fun.
cool.
Sitting around.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to fishing against you guys. I'm looking forward to the dinners, the Friday night before the events, and just hanging out generally. This is going to be an awesome season down there, and I'm looking forward to getting schooled on Chatfield because I'll have a couple days there, but I'll be coming back. I'm still going to Hartwell for a mini vacation with my wife, just because the Airbnb was going to take half of our money if we canceled. So we're like, guess we'll go to South Carolina to
There you go, yeah.
I'm going to take a couple fishing poles and fish because the backyard's got a dock and it's right on Hartwell.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, that'll be fun. They say they got kayaks there, so who knows? Maybe I'll get out one of those things and see what they got. But yeah, man, this should be a ton of fun. But you guys, like I said, Leslie, just know you can see it from the comments, coming down from everybody out here. We're damn proud of you, having you as our representative out there. That was we couldn't be any more lucky than to have you out there representing the state of Colorado. And looking forward to the future and watching the champ.
Thanks.
Evolve into the next level, build her bigger, faster, stronger.
Too much pressure.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, that's maybe our
that's
We're going to
your
fill you with this pressure. That's right. See?
That's funny.
Listen, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for stopping by here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet. We will talk
right.
to you guys soon.
We'll see you later.
We'll see you.
Thanks.
All right, folks. Thank you so very much for sticking with us here. I don't know what actually went on with my my little technical difficulties there earlier, but nevertheless, thank you guys for all the likes, subscribes. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. Check out the Romans Warrior Foundation. Check out True Patriot Outfitters. We can always use your support. When it comes to this stuff, if you have an idea for a podcast out there, or a special guest you think we should connect with, hit us up, man. Throw us a message, DM through out there. Throw us an email. Check out the website, our contact form there at TruePatriotOutfitters.org. You can hit us up there as well. As always, folks, we absolutely can't thank you enough for all of the support and all of the love you've shown us. But as always, tight lines. And be safe.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together.